Alright everyone, the NYPD now has a robot dog called Digidog. It costs many tens of thousands of dollars, and apparently it's like AI plus remote control operation. And they've actually actively deployed it several times now, including in a hostage situation, I guess. Link in the description, according to them at least. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a terrible idea to begin deploying robots in any capacity for law enforcement, and I think should be banned outright. If robots are going to be used in a medical context or in a servicing context, doing maintenance or whatever, especially in ways that humans have difficulty doing it, it makes sense. The problem is this. One of the perennial problems, and leftists should be all over this, one of the problems that you've had with policing is that sometimes there's a disconnect between communities and the cops. How much more does that disconnect become when the beat cops... What does it say if a police force, for example, buys a bunch of robots to police a bad neighborhood? You are essentially telling that neighborhood to fuck itself. Well, we consider you irredeemably broken to the point where we're not even going to physically respond unless there's like an active shooter. We're gonna use robots. Now, this robot could be repurposed for much better usages, for rescuing people in narrow places, again, where a human can't reach. For maintenance purposes or something that's fundamentally useful. Using it to talk to a hostage is kind of pointless. Maybe I mean to talk to hostage takers. The human dynamic, the psychological aspect of talking to a fucking robotic dog, I'm assuming is not going to result in a good situation in many situations where it could be deployed. And it brings up the issue of whether you could apply lethal force. It also brings up the issue, let's say, the police are trying to subdue someone and robots are involved. If you respond, if the perp who's running turns around and fires at a bunch of cops, attempted murder, possibly murder if they, or whatever, if they hit the person, could potentially kill a human being. Most human beings are more averse to killing human beings than they would be shooting at and destroying a robot. It's just property damage and negligent discharge in that case. You can't argue that they're assaulting anyone. It's not a person. They're not trying to murder anyone. You may have someone who's genuinely fucked up, and you're not even going to know how murderous I suppose that they really are. They're going to be less reluctant to attack the robot. You may say, well, that'll save an officer's life. No, I think I think this is ripe for abuse in so many ways. But you could end up with a situation where robot dogs, or that like robot cone that's in, I guess, what is it, Las Vegas or Los Angeles or something, that rolls around. I mean, the ways to troll the robot are limitless. And also, they have to be continuously maintained in a way that's fundamentally disparate from a human. A human doesn't need to be plugged in at night in order to work. Human reliance on robots is also a terrible idea in a general sense. There are some situations where I can see major advantages, especially in a medical context. Humans can spread germs. The robot can't get infected with germs. More sterile. They have robot. They already do that. They use like robotic remote-controlled arms in surgery, especially transplantation and stuff like that on a regular basis. That's great. Using drones manually controlled, of course. They've found so many uses for those. They use flamethrower drones in order to clean out like weeds off of power lines in Germany. These are all great things. They save human labor that's inefficient in and of itself, can literally be more efficiently taken care of by a robot. I'm not sure that negotiating with hostage takers using a speaker on a robot dog is a good idea. And the precedent that it sets, I think, is even better. Governments, militaries, and police should be banned from using robotics, by and large. AI systems, as far as missile defense, nuclear command and stuff, you can make potentially a pitch for that. I think when we get to the point where we're slaughtering people on a battlefield with a remote-controlled tank that's not beholden to any person, you're creating a disconnect between, potentially at least, the person controlling it and the combatant being gunned down. It'd be similar to the psychological effect of doing it on a computer screen via drone. There's a part of me that's slightly uncomfortable with the decoupling of the humanistic aspect of it, because maybe law enforcement especially would be less likely to judge the value of human life and stay a shot, essentially. You can say, well, it doesn't matter, it's just a rapist or a drug addict. Not always. Again, there are rights of the accused that we have to keep in mind too. I would think that if a person, I mean, if I'm walking down the street and a robot dog tells me to mask up or be fine or something, I'm just going to kick it. I don't have a problem. Who cares? It's not a person. Also, a simple EMP device could knock one of these bullshitters out of commission anyway and ruin a $70,000 piece of equipment. It wouldn't even be hard. Kids will be taking camera flash bulbs, putting them on a metal cylinder, and destroying these robots all the time. Knocking them square out from behind. They won't even see it coming. Who's going to stop them? You're not even firing a physical projectile unless there's a cop around literally watching you through the dog and you're coming up from behind out of an alley or something. They're not going to see who shot it. Their screen goes out. There's nothing they can do. Oh, great. The taxpayers just wasted $5 million on dogs that got knocked out over the course of a weekend because some fucking nerds bought a few $1,000s worth of computer equipment. It's going to be a waste of money as well, ultimately, at the end of the day. And then whenever they get new toys, they're reluctant to give them up. They should raffle the fucking dog off to someone who could actually use it. That's about all. Peace out.